witches, curses, sorcery, and the supernatural world of the occult. All these topics have been taboo subjects for most of human history. We live in an age where people are more open to exploring such themes than ever before. Well, some are still very much afraid of what they don't understand. One such thing that is still feared by many is witches. Witches have often been portrayed as evil or villainous characters in books, movies, and TV shows. So we all kind of know what a witch is, right? Not really. There is no universally accepted definition of a witch. In fact, different cultures around the world have had vastly different beliefs about witches. Some believe that witches were women who used their knowledge of herbs and healing to manipulate others, while others believe they were evil women who made pacts with the devil. In today's video, we are going to discuss one particular thing that witches fear above all else. But before we get started, make sure to hit that like button for more videos. Also, stick around until the end to learn about the most feared item witches have ever encountered: the origin of witchcraft. Before we can understand why witches fear certain things, we must first learn about the origins of witchcraft itself. As we said earlier, there is no concrete origin point. Different regions have different tales, and even the word witch has different meanings depending on the language. For example, in Scottish Gaelic, the word for witch is cailleach, which means old woman or hag. In modern times, the word witch has come to refer almost exclusively to women. However, male practitioners of witchcraft are known as wizards or sorcerers. The term witch has its roots in Old English and ultimately derives from the Old English word witchy. Given that the English borrowed so many words from the Germanic peoples, it's not surprising that Old Norse also had a word that meant something similar. The Old Norse word was gikla, which carried the definition of someone who practices witchcraft. It was generally accepted that both men and women could be guilty of this practice. The word gikla later evolved into the word jekka in Middle Low German and Dutch and eventually became the English word witch. With that said, let's take a look at some of the history. During the Middle Ages, the church would often accuse midwives of being witches. This was because they possessed knowledge of herbal medicine and healing. They could deliver babies and knew how to treat illnesses. The church was deeply suspicious of this, thinking that such powers were only attainable through dealings with the devil. The fear of witches during this period reached such a peak that between 1450 and 1750, approximately 60,000 people were executed for witchcraft in Europe alone. The majority of these unfortunate souls were, in fact, women. As the years went on, however, the belief in witches gradually faded away. That was, of course, until the early 20th century, when people began to practice witchcraft once again. Today, witchcraft has made a full circle and is now practiced openly across the globe. Those who practice witchcraft are known as Wiccans. Unlike the witches of old, Wiccans reject the idea that they are evil or villainous. Instead, they embrace the positive aspects of nature and believe in living life according to natural laws. Why do witches fear salt? Now that you know a bit about the history of witches, it's time to find out why they fear salt. To put it simply, witches fear salt because it wards off evil spirits. Salt has long been associated with purification and protection against evil spirits, and it's often used to ward off negative energy. Additionally, salt can be used to banish witches and evil spirits. According to some sources, if a witch steps on salt, she will be banished from the area immediately. This is because witches are believed to be unable to cross over salt. But why does salt have this power? According to legend, Jesus Christ himself performed a miracle involving salt. He took salt and gave it to his disciples, commanding them to use it to drive out demons. In the book of Mark, chapter 9, verse 37, it says, "He said to them, 'For this generation, nothing is to be destroyed except with salt.'" Of course, this is just a myth, but it serves to explain why witches fear salt so much. Interestingly enough, in some parts of the world, it is believed that witches use salt in their spells. The type of magic that witches cast can vary greatly depending on the region and tradition. Some witches may use salt in their spells, but it's important to note that the use of salt in magic doesn't necessarily mean that the witch is evil or practicing black magic. In fact, salt is often used for protective spells. By casting salt around the perimeter of a home, Witches can create a barrier against negative energy. If an evil spirit tries to enter the home, it will stop dead in its tracks when it encounters the salt. However, there is another explanation for the use of salt in spells. This explanation dates back to ancient times when salt was actually used to preserve human remains. In essence, it was used to keep the body from decaying. What's interesting here is that witches supposedly use salt in spells that are intended to preserve something. For example, instead of preserving a body, they may preserve a memory or relationship. Salt and exorcisms. The reason why witches fear salt is also the reason why salt is often involved in exorcisms. It's no secret that the main goal of an exorcism is to expel evil spirits from a person. Oftentimes, priests will throw holy water and bless a person with holy water as a form of protection against evil spirits. This is done to purify the person and remove any negative energy. But they also sprinkle salt over the person and read a passage from the Bible. This is a way to keep the evil spirit from entering the person's body. As we mentioned earlier, evil spirits cannot cross over salt. Therefore, it makes sense that the priest would cover the person with salt as well as holy water. Some people say that reading the Bible and sprinkling holy water are two separate rituals, while sprinkling salt is a third and distinct ritual. Others argue that they are all part of one larger ritual that drives out evil spirits. Regardless, it's clear that salt plays an important role in keeping evil spirits away. Salt and holy water. Now that we've talked about the reasons why witches fear salt and its role in exorcisms, it's time to talk about the combination of salt and holy water. As we said earlier, holy water is created by blessing ordinary water with a religious ceremony. Depending on the religion, the ceremony may involve prayer, incantations, rituals, and other traditions. Both Catholics and Mormons commonly use blessed or holy water as a way to drive out evil spirits. Holy water is also used to purify people, places, and things. So how exactly does holy water work? Well, it is believed that the blessing given to the water gives it special powers. These powers can then be used to protect people from evil spirits. Oftentimes, holy water is sprinkled on people as a form of blessing. However, it can also be used to purify homes and objects. People sometimes carry small containers of holy water with them to bless themselves or others. The exact origins of holy water are unknown, but it has been used by various religions for centuries. Now, you might be wondering why we're talking about holy water on a video about witches. Well, it turns out that witches are terrified of holy water. The same beliefs that make witches avoid salt like the plague also make them avoid holy water. Since holy water has the power to drive out evil spirits, it follows that it would also repel witches. Salt and holy water together. When salt and holy water are combined, the results are even more powerful. This is because salt and holy water can be used together to purify an area and drive out evil spirits. Oftentimes, priests will bless salt as well as water. This salt can then be used to bless other people. This is why you will often see salt and holy water placed in areas where evil spirits are suspected to be present. You will often find it in places of worship, but also in homes and businesses. There is yet another explanation for the use of salt and holy water. Some believe that the combination of these two substances creates a barrier between the physical world and the spiritual world. This barrier can help to prevent evil spirits from entering the physical world. The most feared item. With all that being said, it's time to reveal the number one item witches fear the most. If you had to guess what it was, what would you say? Perhaps it's a religious artifact or a weapon of some sort. How about the Garden of Eden? That's right. It's the Garden of Eden. Many witches fear the Garden of Eden because it is believed to be the source of all evil. Legend has it that the Garden of Eden was created by God Himself. It was the perfect place where everything was free from pain and suffering. However, it was destroyed by humanity's sin. As a result, the Garden of Eden has become a symbol of temptation and sin, and witches are said to fear it above all else. Thanks for watching. What did you think of the video? Did you already know that witches fear salt? Let us know in the comments below.